Hey y'all, I'm James Wright and welcome to my shop. Today we are going to be testing a whole pile of different rust protections. Something from the standard WD-40 all the way down to some newfangled mystery stuff. Let's take a look. So here you can see the final test sample, and we're going to be going with regular WD-40, lots of people swear by it, Johnson's paste wax, my own soft paste wax. Let's go with the WD-40 Rust Corrosion Specialist. One that a lot of people swear by is the T9 Bow Shield. Sta-Bil, this is one I actually used to use when I was in a factory a while ago. And then Liquid Patina, which is actually now called Metal Elixir. This is a new one that's being put out by the new Union Tool Company. They send me a small sample to play with and try some experimenting with. So let's do some of the testing. This is actually a piece of mild steel. I was originally going to do it with a nice piece of tool steel, but the tool steel I had was just not rusting as well. What I'd love to do it on is one of the new ductile steels that you get with the cast steels. But again, I wouldn't have enough of it to do a good sampling of it. And there are several other rust protectants I'd like to put on it. Maybe I'll do another one here soon and actually do some side-by-side comparison. But what I ended up doing was taping them off so each section is equally along there. And went and applied each individual one the way it's supposed to be or it has listed on there. The one different one, my own paste wax, I put it on thick and I thought let's just leave it on thick rather than actually wiping it off like I'd normally wipe off the excess. So it was a little bit different there. I think I want to try it again, putting it a little thinner because, well, yeah, you'll see that in a minute. But then I took it outside and I left it flat. I left it in the rain overnight one night. And then I stood it up on its end so that everything would run off of it and just left it in the humidity for 2 weeks straight. And this is what we have out of it. So first let's start off with the control. This has nothing on it. Beforehand I wiped off everything with alcohol and made sure the steel was nice and clean, there's no oil on it. And as you can see, don't leave it out by itself, it will rust pretty quickly. Next we have the basic WD-40, and this actually did surprisingly well. You're still going to see a few water spots, and then you're going to see several of these pitting spots where the rust is actually digging in pretty deep. So it's not great, but it's a lot better than the control. But that being said, yeah, there's a lot. Anytime you see these rings, that's where the water was sitting in the rainstorm, and you can tell the rust already ate into that before I tipped it up on end for it all to wash off. Moving down a little farther, we have Johnson's paste wax. And again, here you're going to see a lot more rings. So the water pooling on this actually was a lot worse than even the WD-40. You can see several spots where the water was pooling, but the spots really aren't digging in that deep. Whereas with the paste wax from Johnson, that actually is pretty bad. Then we got the schmoo of my paste wax, which, you know, it's designed for finishing, but we're going to use it on this. And I didn't wipe it off. And so what you're actually seeing here isn't rust, but the thick paste wax that is caked on there. So if I scrape off that, you're actually getting down to bare steel, and it looks pretty good, but if it's going to be that thick, you're not going to have that much of an issue. There are a couple spots down here at the edge, and then one ring right there in the middle. So it wasn't great, but we'll move on from there. Next, we have WD-40 Specialist Rust Prevention. This is a corrosion inhibitor. And wow, this one came out. You don't see hardly any water spots. I mean, there's a little caking here and there where it's in the thickness. The surface is a bit more oily, so if I rub it afterwards, you can see it's still oily on the surface. But it's actually really, really nice. There isn't any rust on that at all. Next, probably the most surprising is the T9 Bow Shield. Yeah, it did not do very well at all. I think I would prefer any paste wax over that. There are lots of spots on here. It just did not hold up well at all. So the spots mean that happened one day while it was sitting in the rain. And then after it ran off, you can see that each one of those started to work in more. So yeah, Bow Shield, I don't know if I'd want to use it. Next, we have Sta-Bil. And this one is probably the champion. This is the one, it is just really clean, really, really nice. There are no spots on this at all. It's a little bit oily on top. You can see the finger wiping, but not quite as bad as the WD Rust Corrosion Prevention. This is really, really nice. Then last we have the specialty sample that I got from Union Toolworks, Metal Elixir, which is what they're now offering it as. And there are several water spots on here. It's not really that bad. It is better than the Bow Shield, but not all that great either. So then the question comes down to what should you choose? The best overall was the Sta-Bil Rust and Stopper. This stuff was great. I really, really liked it. Second was the WD-40 Rust Specialist. That one kind of surprised me. I wasn't expecting that to stand up as well. There are, those are both really, really good and will do up well. There's several other things like, touching on it. All of these I did go through and actually touch them with my fingers and rub them before putting them outside so that they had a little bit of contact. But that was when they were fresh and new, and so it's not a huge, great sample on there. The paste wax held up pretty well, but I'd rather have it a little thinner, and I might retest that one just because I don't like that caked on look. But this is what I have been using. Is it enough to change? Probably. I'm probably going to use this now that I have it in the shop. I really, really liked it. But, in my shop, rust isn't a huge problem. If rust is a serious problem for you, I would definitely say go for something like this. If you're looking for something that's a little more of a small batch, made in America by a small company, the Metal Elixir from Union Tool Company actually stood up really well. Yeah, there's a few spots on it, but not as bad as some of the others. That would actually be a great one to buy from a small single batch company. And I'm actually wanting to test a few more things on that. Now, I do have to say, this isn't a very scientific test. I did one sample of all of them in one particular condition, and I would like to do it a little bit better. And I would like to do it on some different steels and see if different steels have different ways and different applications and different texturing and different environments. There are lots of other things I'd like to go into it. And I know there's several other companies of rust preventer out there that people want me to try. So let me know, what would you like me to try? I think I'm going to be doing another test like this, but doing something that's a little more scientific with some more samples and a couple different types of steels and conditions. So let me know if there's something particular you want me to add to that. We'll do it in the future. But all this, it was very, very surprising. I mean, historically what I've been using is the paste waxes, and they did relatively well. But honestly, these did phenomenally well. And I kind of like the Metal Elixir, just being able to get it from someone who I know and trust and like. And it works really well. If you're just talking about humidity in your shop, it would do well. That being said, WD-40, it's great at a lot of things, but that means that it's not really amazing at anything. It's just intended to be water displacement, which for that, it works phenomenally well. So I hope you like this test. I know it was a little bit different and a little bit soft. We'll be doing some more in the future, and I want to get your ideas. What other things do you want me to test? What parameters would be important to you? And if I could find a large piece of ductile steel, I would love to test that, because that's what most of the planes are made of. You look at that stuff funny and it rusts. And I'd really like to be able to test that. But unfortunately, I only have a couple planes, and it wouldn't be a very good sample size to do it on that. But who knows? Let me know your thoughts, ideas, comments down below. Also, I want to say a huge thank you to all of the patrons on Patreon. I say it every week, but I mean it. Without patrons and supporters here on the channel, this channel wouldn't exist. So thank you for that. If you'd like to find out more, there's links to Patreon down below, or you can click the little join button and become a member here on YouTube. All of you supporting this channel is what makes it happen. So thank you. If you do have any other questions, thoughts, ideas, snide remarks, let me know that. And until next time, have a wonderful day. Rust corrosion prevention is a topic that I've been wanting to do for a long time. You could say it's been eating away at me.